Joshua just got done rematching Ruiz, and before you before you can break down this fight, you have to go look at the first fight, which was not competitive. And many people had compared that upset to like a Buster Douglas Mike Tyson. I had a big problem with that comparison. Odds wise, sure. Buster Douglas being completely unknown to the average person, much like Ruiz, sure. Mike Tyson being known by everybody in the world, Joshua being known by everybody in the boxing world. I get that part of it, but Buster Douglas got beat up and then knocked Mike out. That is meaningfully different than what Ruiz did to Joshua. Ruiz kicked his ass. I think there was I'm going off the top of my head. I think there was 6 knockdowns in that whole fight. Ruiz saw the canvas twice, but knocked Joshua down 4 times. And Joshua was never the kind of out where you go, oh, wow, he caught him. I mean, he gave up. I've had enough. He spit the mouthpiece out. He made the signal to the ref. It was just a totally different upset. It was clean. It was a fair fight. Good job, Ruiz. I think if you add any more to that story, or you try to make the comparison to a Buster Douglas, or you try to make a comparison and say Joshua got caught, I think it takes away from what actually happened that night, and Ruiz deserves a lot of credit. Now, Joshua was more than willing to do the rematch. The quicker, the better. And they fought the first time. It was only like 6 months ago. What I'm saying is it's very hard to flip the script. If somebody is better than you at something, 6 months isn't a whole lot of time to not only balance that out, but change the scale. It's just not. And the first fight that I saw was a pretty good beating that Ruiz put on Joshua. But Joshua wanted the rematch. He knew something. Now, whatever that was, he likely never reveals to us. But it seemed as though he knew full well, I'm not firing on all cylinders. I did not train properly for this fight. I've been holding back. I got tired. My timing was off, whatever it could be. But it did seem like he knew and was able to identify, and accurately, it turns out, what those things were. Because when he got back in here tonight, this was a totally different fight. And it wasn't a brawl. And one thing that Ruiz really needed to do, in my opinion, is make it a brawl. You've got to brawl the boxer. The boxer needs to box the brawler. Ruiz was one of these guys, as complimentary as I was a moment ago in his first contest. I would never kick a man when he's down, but it was kind of tough to watch. Like, hey, are you not hearing the bell? Are you not aware that the bell, when it went ding, ding, when it makes that sound, that you can go fight? He was one of these guys that he wasn't throwing punches. Not just wild, brawling, powerful shots and digging to the body and combinations. Everything that he did in part 1, he did none of these things. He was not throwing punches. He came out as though he was the fighter that didn't take this seriously, that was worrying about conditioning issues, that was looking to hold on for the later rounds just to survive. And one thing you'll find in combat, an athlete's biggest fear is not losing. The athlete's biggest fear is reaching exhaustion. The biggest fear an athlete will have is reaching a level of exhaustion where he can no longer continue. Whether that means to defend himself or continue to try to win the contest, that is his biggest fear. And it looked to me like Ruiz the entire night knew and had his own secret. Wasn't eating right, wasn't training hard, was enjoying the media. I'm just guessing. But he was not active. He was not making a fist and throwing it in a forward motion anywhere towards the head, neck, chest, or body of his opponent. It was very frustrating to watch. And boxing will often do that to us. Boxing is so painfully boring because of its round system. It's 12 rounds. Make it 8 rounds and maybe we can have some fun and we can have some energy and not have guys worried about it. Again, I'm just giving you my critique of watching the fight. Joshua, on the other hand, kept it on the outside. And it's amazing what a man that is as tall and long as Joshua can do when he can control a fight with a jab, when everything comes behind the disguise of a jab. And a jab does not just let you know where your opponent is and just size him up so you can feel him. That's what everybody thinks a jab is for. That's how it always gets talked about. A jab is blinding. If you throw a jab and you put one of those big 12-ounce gloves right between a guy's eyes, he can't see what's coming next. So a jab has a couple of purposes, but when you have a long guy that will jab and move and jab and move and jab and move, Yeah, it's not all that fun to watch. I understand. This fight was not fun to watch, but it was effective. You saw a very effective boxer go out there and box.